Okay, so in the last lecture, we were discussing about the super keyword. Now in the today's lecture, I'll give some brief idea about the final keyword again, and what is the use of final keyword what is the purpose of final keyword when we are using inheritance. And after that, we'll start the third unit with arrays, with the concept of arrays, right? So as we know that ki inheritance is basically a phenomena in which there are minimum two classes, one parent class, one child class, and the child class inherits all the properties of the parent class, right? So the purpose of inheritance, the main benefit of inheritance is it provides the reusability of the properties. So you need not to redeclare the properties of the parent class into the child class, which are already declared once in the parent class, right? Apart from that, we have seen the super keyword. What was the purpose of super keyword? There were three purpose of super keyword. One, it is used to refer the instance variables of the parent class, immediate parent class. And second purpose, I have told you that it is used to call the functions of the parent class, immediate parent class in the child class, especially when the method overriding concept you have used in the class, in the inheritance, right? And the third purpose was it is used to inherit the constructor, or it is used to call the constructor of the immediate parent class into the child class. So in this third concept, I've told you that if there is a parameterized constructor in the parent class, then it is not going to be inherited in the child class. So for that purpose, you have to use a super keyword to call the constructor of the parent class, right? Now we'll talk about the final keyword. I've already told you final keyword once in the previous lecture series also, that it is used to declare the constant, it is used to make the variable as a constant in the program. So basically now we'll see the effect of final keyword for a variable, then if effect of final keyword for a function, and then effect of final keyword for a class, right? So if we talk about the final keyword, and if I apply this final keyword with the variable, right, so the variable becomes constant, which means you cannot change the value of a now, which is of integer type, in the whole program. Now this particular a has become constant value. Now if I use a final keyword with a method, suppose I'm using a method sum integer a comma integer b, and I've written something inside this particular function, but for designing this function, I've used a keyword, I've prefixed the keyword final with this, then you cannot override this particular function. You can't override this particular function. Override this function, as well as you cannot overload also. You cannot overload this function, right? So final keyword will make your function as a final, which means you can't override your function in case of inheritance, and you also cannot, I'm so sorry, one thing, you cannot override your function, and also the function cannot be inherited as well, right? So this is the use of final method, final keyword with the method. Now the third thing, suppose you have made a class as a final. Suppose I have made a class test, and before making a class I have made it a final class, right? So if the class is a final class, you cannot make a parent class, fine, which means you cannot do the inheritance with a class which is prefixing with the final keyword. So final keyword, if you are using with a variable, it will become constant, If you are using with a method, you can't override that method or you can't inherit that method. And if you are prefixing with the class, then you cannot inherit this particular class. Fine. So this is the three use of final keyword. So whenever you are using a final keyword, be careful what kind of properties it will attach, it will give you with the variable or with the function or with the class. Fine. So formally, we are closing the topic inheritance now. So we have already seen what is inheritance, how you will override the method, how will you overload the method, how will you do the constructor overloading, how will you make different kind of inheritance, what is the use of super keyword, what is the use of final keyword. Now, today's topic is arrays. So array is what? It is a collection of similar kind of data. Similar kind of data, right? And this data is generally stored in a continuous memory location. So you can store multiple values in a single variable by using the concept of arrays. So suppose I wish to declare the array of 5 integer elements. So there are various ways through which you can declare the array in Java. So first method that I'm going to use is new and integer, the type of the array, then blank square brackets, name of the array variable, then new integer 5. This is the first method to declare the array, and I have taken the example that I wish to declare the array of 5 integer element. Now the second method to declare the array is, you can declare it like this. Now third method, integer a, and this is the array. Then fourth method, we can use it like fine. So these are the methods. These are the various type of syntaxes through which you can declare the particular array. Fine. Now, suppose I wish to create the array, and in the array, I wish to store 5 numbers, and then I will display these numbers. So let's write a program for that. Fine. So I'm making a class, public class. Say my class name is test array. Now in the class, I'm declaring a main function. Okay. Now, as we have already decided, there needs to be store 5 numbers in the array, and then I will display these numbers. So I'm making an array of, let's store the numbers like this. 5 numbers I have stored. Now I wish to display these numbers. Fine. So what we can use a for loop. Array is always starting, the index of the array is always starts from 0. So the counter, I'll start from 0. And obviously if the first element is 0 and array is of 5 elements, so maximum elements in your array will be 4 only. So I will make a loop till 4, that is I less than 5 and I plus plus. And I plus plus. Now I will display the array system.out.println. I'm displaying the array. So close this and close this. Now let's try to run this program. So we'll save this program with name testarray.java. Now we'll try to run this program. Okay, so Java C not Java. The program is compiled. I've executed the program and we can see that this is the output. Okay, I'm really sorry. I've displayed the I variable. Actually, we need to display the array. So what are the changes required? It is A of I, so that element is stored at that particular index. So what is going to be displayed? A0, A1, A2, etc. So let's try this program again, once again. Compiled and then executed. 1, 4, 5, 6 and 8. So all 5 elements are displayed now. Now, what is the drawback of the array, of using array? The drawback of using array is basically it is a static type of array. We have seen that we have declared the array of 5 elements and we have stored the values. Now, if you wish to increase the size of this array, then this array cannot be modified with respect to the space. Once it is declared, the array space has become fixed. Now, if you wish to create another space in the array, for example, right now the array is of 5 elements, और आप अगर इसको 10 एलिमेंट का या 20 एलिमेंट का बनाना चाहते हैं, then you have to create a new array. This current array cannot be modified with respect to the space, right? So this is the main drawback of the array, that it is a static memory allocation. Fine. Now we will see how to calculate the length of the array. You can calculate the length of the array कि array में कितने elements, array का length कितना है, total कितने elements है array में. तो इसको print करके देखते हैं. The function for displaying the length of the array, number of elements in the array is length पता करनी है. Array name dot function is length, right? So if you will write a dot length, so it will give you number of elements that are stored in the array. So let's try to execute this function and we'll see कि हमने 5 एलिमेंट की array बनाई थी तो हमको 5 आउटपुट में मिलना चाहिए. See, the length of the array is equal to 5, right? Now there is one more loop that we can use in the array, that is called as for each loop. तो सबसे पहले उसकी सिंटेक्स देख लेते हैं. array के लिए स्पेशल लूप जो मैंने बताया आपको, for each loop, तो for data type of the variable, then variable, comma, name of the array, array का नाम आप देंगे, and then you will print the variable. So basically what this loop does, it access each and every value of the array one by one stored into the variable. So if I will display the variable, I will get the values stored inside the array. So we know that this particular loop is displaying me value of the array. Now let's change this loop. इसका एक और बना लेते हैं loop. For suppose ये I ही ले रहे हैं, array को display करना है, and यहाँ पर हम writing that system.out.println, और पिछली बारी आप जब वैल्यू डिस्प्ले कर रहे थे तो आप a of I कर रहे थे. अभी अकॉर्डिंग टू दिस लूप आपकी जो वैल्यू है, वैल्यूज ऑफ array stored in I हो रहा है इस वक्त. I में जाकर के वो स्टोर हो रही है एक एक करके. इसका मतलब जब मैं I को डिस्प्ले कराऊंगी तो मेरे को एक्चुअली array का वैल्यू मिलना चाहिए, है ना? तो एक बारी हम इसको चला करके देखते हैं ये चल रहा है या नहीं. So it is a special loop which is used for array. Okay, type of the variable. This I forgot to mention. So I've mentioned the type. Now, okay, तो already define है variable I, तो इसे j कर देते हैं. We'll use j here. I already हम use कर चुके हैं, तो you cannot reuse I for each loop. तो compile किया. Now it is compiled. Now let's try to run it. See, 1 4 5 6 8. तो पिछली बार आप a of I कर रहे थे और इस बार आप वेरिएबल को डायरेक्ट, जो काउंटर है उसको डायरेक्ट डिस्प्ले कर रहे हो, and it is showing the values which are stored inside the array. ठीक है? Now again come back to the program. Let's try to create double dimension array now. and we will see how many methods are there to store the double dimension array. So the double dimension array can be see, this is the double dimension array where your A is a double dimension array and the dimension is 2 rows and 2 columns. Another way to declare it, A is equal to say 1, 2, 3, 3 rows, comma, see, this is the double dimension array. So 2 rows, 3 columns are being created in the array. Fine. Now how will you display this array? How will you display this array? For that you require a loop for row as well as for column. So let's declare a row and column variable. Now I'm declaring a for loop. For r is equal to 0. And how many rows are there? 2 rows are there. Fine. And obviously your rows are starting from 0. So the last row will be 1. And similarly in each row you have 3 columns. So 0 and less than 3 and C++. Fine. Now let's display the values. So system dot out dot println, and I'm displaying the values of the array row and then column. Now let's try to run this program. So we'll share the screen. Okay, semicolon is not there. Program is compiled. Now you can see that the double dimension array is displayed now. What you can do, if you wish to see the rows separately, then we can apply one logic. ये जो कॉलम है इसको डिस्प्ले होने के बाद हम यहाँ पे क्या करते हैं, एक लाइन का गैप छोड़ देते हैं. सिस्टम डॉट आउट डॉट प्रिंटलन, एक लाइन का गैप, और यहाँ पर प्रिंटलन की बजाय हम क्या कर देते हैं, प्रिंट कर देते हैं. फाइन. एंड let's try this. Okay, I hope the screen was not visible to you. So see what kind of changes I have made. In the row, after every row, I wish to display a single blank line and I wish to display all the values in a single column. So that is why I, instead of println, I have made it print. Now let's try to execute this program. Compiled and I'm running this. See, in the first row I have 1, 2, 3. Then there is a gap, line change, and then the second row is having 4, 5, and 6. Fine. So in this way you can create a multi-dimension array also. Now let's go back to the program again, and we'll try to create a single dimension program to find out the minimum number in the array. Fine. So we are going to make a program for finding out the minimum or maximum. Maximum निकाल लेते हैं in 5 numbers, among 5 numbers. So let's try this program. So I have declared the array A with 5 numbers. Okay. Now we'll scan the number. So यहाँ पर क्या कर लेते हैं, पैकेज इंपोर्ट कर लेते हैं, java.util star, and let's declare the scanner class. System.in. Okay, now we have declared a counter. Fine. So for I is equal to 0, I is less than 5, I plus plus. And now scan the values in the array. So it will be like A of I is equal to sc dot next int. Next int. Now let's display a message so that पता चल जाएगा कि क्या करना है. Fine. So system dot out dot println enter 5 numbers. Okay. चलो 5 नंबर डाल लिए. Now I will declare a variable max which is equal to suppose यहाँ पर 0 है सबसे पहले. Now I'll make a loop for I is equal to 0, I is less than 5 and I plus plus. Now let us assume that the number that is at the first position we'll compare with the max. If it is greater than max, then we'll store the number into the max. Otherwise, the max will contain the old value. So I'm going to compare each and every element with the max. So if max is less than the element of the array, then the value of max should be replaced with the array element. Otherwise, the max will contain the old value. So after completion of this loop, what will happen? After completion of this loop, I'll get a maximum number which is there in the array. Println max is equal to. Now let's try to execute this program and then we'll discuss. So it is asking for numbers. See, the max number is 7 among these 5 numbers. So basically what we have done in the logic, we have compared each and every number with the max. Initially max was 0. So if I have entered, suppose मेरा जो array है उसमें मैंने ये value डाले हुए हैं, 2 डाला है, 4 डाला है, 5 डाला, 1 and 7. अभी क्या हो रहा है कि सबसे पहला नंबर इसने उठाया और मैक्स को कंपेयर किया इसने. मैक्स की वैल्यू 0 थी, मैक्स को कंपेयर किया. इफ मैक्स इज लेस देन 2, कंडीशन ट्रू हो गई तो मैक्स की वैल्यू उसने क्या रख दी, यहाँ पर 2 रख दी. ठीक है. अब आपका जो लूप है वो इंक्रीज हुआ और इंक्रीज होकर के जो नंबर है वो 4 हो गया. मैक्स की वैल्यू थी 2, 2 इज लेस देन 4, तो मैक्स में क्या स्टोर हो गया जा करके 4. ठीक है. अभी क्या हुआ, आपका जो नंबर है वो चेंज हुआ, नंबर चेंज होकर 5 हो गया, मैक्स में पड़ा है 4, तो 4 इज लेस देन 5, आपका जो मैक्स है वो क्या हो गया, 5 हो गया. ठीक है. अब आपका नंबर फिर से चेंज हुआ और नंबर चेंज होके क्या हो गया, 1 हो गया, बट मैक्स में क्या पड़ा हुआ है, 5 पड़ा हुआ है. दिस कंडीशन इज नॉट सेटिस्फाइड, तो नंबर चेंज हुआ, नंबर चेंज होकर के 7 हो गया. 5 इज लेस देन 7, so finally your number has become 7. Now your loop is finished. So you will come out from the loop and you will get maximum as a 7, right? So this is the simple example to use an array for finding out the maximum among 5 numbers. You can try in the same program, you can try to find out the minimum as well. तो ये मैं आप पे छोड़ती हूँ, आप minimum भी इसमें निकाल करके देख लीजिएगा कि minimum number किस तरीके से find out करेंगे. So I'm ending this class over here only, and in the next class we'll try to see the dynamic array by using the array list.